Hi everyone. So today we're moving on to meditation practices, essentially. We've gone through asana and pranayama, which are two of the 8 limbs of yoga, two of the more popular ones. The third and the fourth. So there's yamas and niyamas, which we talked briefly about. Those are the ways that we interact with our environment and ourselves. I'll talk more about those in the 3-credit yoga lecture class that I'll be offering starting in winter of this coming year, so you can look out for that. And then there's asana, the physical postures, pranayama, breathing techniques. We'll be doing pratyahara. This is sense withdrawal, which we talked a little bit about. We'll be doing that in 2 weeks. That's usually the link between the physical practices and the last 3 limbs, which are meditative practices. I'm not sure why I put the schedule this way, but anyway, number 6, focus. Dharana is what we're going to be doing today. And then there's number 7, meditation, dhyana, and samadhi, which is joining with universal consciousness. Numbers 7 and 8 are usually not what the regular person is shooting for. Those are more for like yogis who have dedicated their life to practicing yoga, and they're more advanced concepts. So focusing the mind or practicing dharana is usually what's more attainable for the average person who's practicing yoga. And we call that meditation, but it's not like a true state of focusing on nothingness. It's a step towards that meditative state. So a simple practice for beginning dharana, which is focusing the mind, is chanting Omkar. And so we're going to learn that today. There's a symbol that is Omkar, which you can picture when you chant this, or you can just listen to your chant. I'll post a picture of the symbol. I can draw, let's see if I can draw it. I drew it on my own notebook, so if I drew it wrong, that's not good. But anyway, something similar to that. I'll post a picture of it. So sometimes people practice by visualizing the symbol Omkar and chanting it at the same time. Sometimes you can practice it just by doing that chanting and listening. So this practice of chanting in order to focus helps you to block out other sounds around you and helps you to busy your mind and your body so that you're less likely to be distracted by your own thoughts. It's why it's a good way to begin this process of focus, of dharana, of kind of like entering this meditative state. And it's been practiced for centuries in India and actually studied there to figure out like what is the proper proportion of each syllable to get most benefit from it and to make it most comfortable. So I'll teach you the way that I learned. What I had I had an interesting experience learning about Omkar chanting when I was at the ashram in India. This woman, Mrs. Sharma, who was probably in her 60s or 70s at the time, she's still teaching. She's married to the guru of the ashram. She spoke probably the most passionate I've ever heard anyone speak about anything for 2 hours about Omkar chanting. And she was saying if you chant Omkar in the morning for 10 minutes in the afternoon, and 10 minutes in the evening, so 30 minutes a day, that it will change your life, it will clear your mind, it will make everything better. She was very passionate about this. So Omkar chanting was like life for her. So I'll teach you this technique. And I also want to point out that there are many meditative practices that we do, that people do, that you probably also do. And it's just this concept of busying the mind and the body in a way that's kind of repetitive and doesn't require thinking, so that your mind can be clear. So for example, some people find like doing crafts or painting or knitting or something to be meditative. I also find that to be meditative. I like to do macrame. I like to make friendship bracelets. I like that activity. I find that meditative. Walking or running can be meditative. I agree with that. I also play piano and violin. Those are activities that keep my hands and my brain busy, but not like thinking type of engaged, so that my thoughts can just kind of like go, come and go. Your mind can become clear in that way. Like my dad, I know, loves to go fishing, and I like to go with him. My mom, my sisters love to go too. to kind of like watch, look at the water, be still. It's a meditative practice. And I'm sure you can come up with more in your life that you like to do that you find meditative. So I'll be interested to hear what you do to quiet your mind. There's probably something that you find meditative that you may not have labeled that way before. If you like to pray, can be a meditative type of practice. Something like the rosary, for example, or chanting in yoga, those are two very similar things. I've seen research studies done on praying the rosary and chanting. They're very similar in the sense that you do something kind of on repeat so your mind can be free. I won't brainstorm much more, but if you have other things that you do that are meditative, you can share. And then related to that, even yogis thousands of years ago were noticing and aware that the mind can get pulled in all different directions by our five senses. There's this concept of the driver of the chariot is the self, the observer, and the five senses are these five horses that can pull you all over the place if you let them. But if you are in charge of your experience and in control of your mind, you can control the way your five senses impact you. And even thousands of years ago, people were talking about this. But now we have phones and we have TVs and we have computers and we have so many ways of being distracted. So I was thinking today, like, not only is there the risk of our mind wandering all over the place, but now people often don't even allow themselves to sit with their own thoughts and be pulled all over the place by their own thinking mind. If they have a thought, if they have a question, they'll pick up their phone and let their phone bring them all over the place. Let their phone do the thinking for them. And it's so easy to do, and it's so very distracting, and we're getting pulled so far from ourselves nowadays. So, letting your mind wander and being with your own thoughts, that's one challenge even nowadays. That's one challenge nowadays, I'll say, even just that. And that is what the yogis were trying to remove. That's a distraction the yogis were even trying to remove. So we've got a lot of layers to peel back. We've got the screens, the phones, the distractions of modern day, and then we've got our mind that some people are afraid to sit with. So this is what we're trying to control, is the mind. Don't be afraid of your mind. We're trying to figure out how, in yoga, we're trying to be an observer of the mind. We're trying to harness all of our capabilities, all of our senses, and be present and have a clear mind, have a clear observational look as the observer. So there's the self that observes the mind and that observes the thoughts. And in yoga, we try to allow the mind to be still, like a pond, right? And the thoughts, the chittas, are the waves on the pond. And you can't stop your thoughts, but you can allow those ripples to just become still on the pond. You can allow your mind to be still, and you can be the observer of a peaceful life. So in dharana, which is focus, we have different techniques for focusing the mind. I'll be teaching you Omkar chanting today, and next week we'll learn a couple other techniques. So I'll get right to it. Om is made of 3 syllables. There's A, U, and M, spelled A-U-M, as you see it in the books that I posted some pictures of. So, believe it or not, this technique has been studied extensively in India to figure out what's the proper breakdown of the word Om, of those 3 syllables. And the way I learned it was 2 seconds or 2 counts for A, 3 for U, and 5 for M. So that makes 10 counts on the exhale. So in essence, we're breathing in fully and then breathing out very slowly. And continuing this, it makes a deep breathing practice all in itself. So Omkar chanting can have those same benefits as deep breathing and pranayama. You can decrease your blood pressure, you can calm down, become less anxious. And of course, the benefit of a meditation or a focus technique is you're focusing the mind and you're connecting with the self. So there's this spiritual aspect to it. You're connecting with the observing self. And I'll remind you again, yoga, it's not a religion. It can be described as spiritual though, because you're connecting with yourself. And that's as far as I'll take it in this academic class. But we're entering these techniques of meditation that allow you to go more internally and connect with yourself, which is kind of like that aspect of spirituality. And, physiologically, this deep breathing and making sounds can have a real impact on things like blood pressure, anxiety, focus, and health, overall wellness in that way. So I'll demonstrate 3 Omkars. And what I recommend doing is just trying 3 and then sit with your eyes closed and see how you're feeling. You'll find that you do have a clear mind, at least for a few moments afterwards. Then if you want to extend this, you can set a timer for 1 minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or you may count your Omkars. In yoga, oftentimes you'll pick an auspicious number. In yoga, 108 is an auspicious number. It's based in astrology and many other things. But you can do any division of 108, so you may count to 54 or 27. Those are common numbers that are often chosen for various techniques in yoga that we repeat over and over. So you might choose to count your Omkars, or you might choose to set a timer so you can just kind of get lost in the chanting of Omkar. And then tell me how you feel after. I'll be interested you can post a video of you chanting Omkar. You can just tell me how it went for you, and I'll be also interested to hear what other meditative techniques you have in your life. Very simple things, could be anything. Washing dishes, I've heard and I agree, is a meditative technique because you're busy, your hands are busy, and your mind can kind of clear itself. Okay, so Om. We'll inhale, and then we'll do 2, 3, and then 5. So 2 ah, 3 oo, 5 for So So pausing afterwards, just observe your still mind. You will have a still mind for at least a few moments after that. It's very nice. Imagine doing it for 30 minutes a day. It's kind of what Mrs. Sharma was talking about. So I thought of something I wanted to say after that, which was there was a research study done in India. I don't think it was published in like a Western journal, but something that researchers, could explore and repeat potentially. Chanting Omkar before doing like a cognitive test. And it was found that the focus that it gives you improved cognitive functioning on these tests that people took afterwards. So whether you're more interested in connecting with yourself spiritually or more interested in the physical and mental and emotional effects that yoga can have, all of these things have been explored in India and are starting to be explored in the US. Effects on breathing, effects on your heart, effects on self-reported anxiety, depression, things like that, and cognitive functioning as well. It's very interesting. All right, well, I look forward to hearing from you this week, and I hope that you enjoy the practice of Omkar chanting.